everybody. Welcome back to Starve the Demon Recovery by Any Means Necessary. I'm your host, Jenna. My dogs are making noise. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Starve the Demon Recovery by Any Means Necessary. I'm your host, Jenna, and tonight we are finishing our Narcotics Anonymous book study with Step 12. Tonight we'll be reading from the Narcotics Anonymous basic text, and it works how and why. We'll be talking about the spiritual principle of service. Step 12 is where we begin looking at spiritual awakening, carrying the message to another addict, and practicing the principles we've learned in every part of our lives. Of course, my dogs are here. That doesn't mean we finish all 12 steps and suddenly become perfect people. It means working the steps begins to change the way we think, the way we behave, the way we treat people, and the way we show up in the world. And then we take what was freely given to us and make it available to somebody else. As always, I'll be reading from the books and sharing my own experience. Hopefully that will give you some strength and hope. Strength and hope? I'm going to tell you what carrying the message means to me and what it actually looks like to practice these principles outside of a meeting. And because we're talking about spiritual awakening, I don't want to remind everybody that this is not about one particular religion. You may follow a religion, you may not. You may still be figuring out what you believe. Your understanding of a higher power and your spiritual experience are personal. What matters here is the change that begins to happen in our lives as a result of working the steps. Before we get started, please take a second to like this live, subscribe to the channel, follow the Facebook page, and share this with somebody who may need it. You can also visit starvethedemon.com for more recovery content, resources, merchandise, and you can buy me a coffee. All right, enough about me. Let's get into step 12. Hi, Shroom. All right, you guys, please excuse me. The dogs, I don't know what's wrong with them. They're fine right up until I start doing this. And then they're like, oh, let me make lots of noise. So, and of course, I was just reading a little script there because I get nervous. Even though I do this every Monday, I get stage fright and I get a little nervous. So it helps me to have a little opening reminder of how to say what I want to say. So I want to welcome everybody in. This is the first time it's also, I guess, streaming on Facebook. So that's exciting. That is exciting. I can't tell if somebody's chatting from the Facebook or the YouTube. So I'm just going to roll with it. Let me just double check. Shrimp says, I got to be honest, watching you with the dogs in the back are cracking me up. Could you hear what I was saying or could you just hear the dogs? Like, should I say all that all over again? I think I'm gonna. If you don't tell me not to, I'm gonna. But I know there's a delay, so I'm gonna wait a minute. This is Mango, and this is Happy. Hello, Facebook world. I know, right? This is I don't know. I'm going to have to check it out and see what it looks like on Facebook because I haven't. Oh, you can hear me fine. The dogs weren't distracting from what I was saying. That's cool. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to pull out our Narcotics Anonymous basic text. You can read along if you have one. And if you don't, that's fine. I'm going to read it to you. Do you hear them? I got two over here on the other side of the door, and I got two back here. Oh, that's not even Happy. That's Milo. Happy and Dio are on the other side of the door. Dio won't come in here while I'm doing this because there's wires on the floor, and for some reason, he just wants to make noise at the door instead of come in and play with the other ones. Hey, what did Mama say? See a little tail wagging? Look at that. His whole body wags when he wags his tail. It's the cutest thing ever. Anyway, enough about my babies. They went to the vet this morning. I guess it wasn't enough. I guess I have more to say. Oh my God. I'm going to say it. Should I say it all again? I'm going to say it all again. I am. I'm going to start all over. Listen, you guys, can you at least be quiet in the peanut gallery? I love that you want to hang out with me, but can you be quiet about it? Look at that face. Look at this baby. He's a rando. We don't know what he is. We don't know what kind of doggy he is. He's very long and he has very skinny legs and he's got a face like a monkey. Hi, Mackenzie's in here. Hi, Mackenzie. Oh, I'm so glad you stopped in. Listen, I'm going to do my whole introduction all over again because the dogs were going nuts. So I'm going to do it again for the new folks. Really, Shroom? Okay. My brother, Mackenzie, Shroom Day is my little brother. When I say little brother, he's in his 40s. But he is telling me that I don't have to do my intro over again. So I'm going to start. We are in the Narcotics Anonymous basic text. We're going to do step 12, and that begins on page 49. And I have to get my little light to read it. Oh, my chat's going weird. The chat's clicking up and down. I don't know what's going on with that. Okay. I don't know. My chat thing is clicking up and down. I don't know if y'all see it like that. All right. That's Dio. Dio says hi. It's my big old husky. I'm going to turn this little light on. Look, it's blinding. Okay. Step 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to addicts and to practice these principles in all our affairs. So, a couple of things already. The spiritual experience that everybody's always talking about, that is a result of these steps. It is a ridiculous, unrealistic expectation to think that somebody's going to come in the rooms and right off the bat, they're going to be living their life as if they've worked all 12 steps. We have that spiritual experience as a result of working the steps. And when we say we practice these principles in all our affairs, we mean we practice the spiritual principles that we've been working on throughout the 12 steps, which are honesty, trust, faith, brotherly love, perseverance, self-discipline, spirituality, and this one is service. So that's what we mean when we say these principles. And you figure it out after you're done working the steps. It's a part of the process of working the steps. I'm trying to keep track of the chat too. My dogs are so cute. I got 2 cats too. One of them's probably hiding in the closet. Let's see. We came to Narcotics Anonymous as the result of the wreckage of our past. The last thing we expected was an awakening of the spirit. We just wanted to stop hurting. The steps lead to an awakening of a spiritual nature. This awakening is evidenced by changes in our lives. These changes make us better able to live by spiritual principles and to carry our message of recovery and hope to the addict who still suffers. To carry our message of recovery and hope to the addict who still suffers. The message, however, is meaningless unless we live it. We live it, our lives and actions give it more meaning than our words and literature ever could. The idea of a spiritual awakening takes many different forms in the different personalities that we find in the fellowship. My chat is going nuts, y'all. I mean, not going nuts like there's a ton of people in it. It just keeps jumping up and down. It's weird. It might be my rinky-dink laptop I'm working off of. I don't know. bear with me, you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you for hanging out and bearing with me. I ask for your forgiveness and compassion in all things. However, all spiritual awakenings have some things in common. Oh, that's a bright light for you guys. I'm going to try and do this to where the light doesn't like blind y'all. Ooh, I could be like scary. Ooh, sorry. I'm trying to stay on point here. However, all spiritual awakenings have some things in common. Common elements include an end to loneliness and a sense of direction in our lives. Many of us believe that a spiritual awakening is meaningless unless accompanied by an increase in peace of mind and a concern for others. In order to maintain peace of mind, we strive to live in the here and now. Those of us who have worked these steps to the best of our ability received many benefits. We believe that these benefits are a direct result of living the program. When we first begin to enjoy relief from our addiction, we run the risk of assuming control of our lives again. We forget the agony and pain that we have known. Our disease controlled our lives when we were using. It is ready and waiting to take over again. We quickly forget that all our past efforts at controlling our lives failed. By this time, most of us realize that the only way that we can keep what was given to us is by sharing this new gift of life with the still suffering addict. This is our best insurance against relapse to the torturous existence of using. We call it carrying the message, and we do it in a number of ways. Now, what's going to be interesting, and this is a question that comes up, carrying the message, some people, and some people will tell you this, means that you have to sponsor, right? Nowhere in this literature, in either one of these two books, is it going to say that you have to sponsor. We're about to get into all the different ways that you can carry the message. And I'm going to talk to you about how I carry the message. Give you some examples, tell some stories. My husband says I should tell more stories. You are not required to be a sponsor. Not everybody is cut out for sponsor. Not everybody has the time to sponsor. If you can sponsor, that's great. That's awesome. If you can take somebody through the steps and the book and put their hand in the hand of God's, that's fabulous. But that is not the only way to carry the message. So that's what we're going to talk about here next. I've read this so many times, like I know what's coming up. I'm kind of a literature nerd, y'all. But lucky you, some of y'all may not have the book, or you might find it difficult to read by yourself. So me reading it to you, I try to make it fun. And, it's like when I go to church and they preach and they tell me what part of the Bible they're preaching from, but I don't actually have to like read along because they're telling me exactly what it says. That's what I'm trying to do for you guys. Let's see. In the 12th step, we practice the spiritual principles of giving the NA message of recovery in order to keep it. Even a member with 1 day in the NL fellowship, did I say NL? In the NA fellowship, can carry the message that this program works. When we share with someone new, we may ask to be used as a spiritual instrument of our higher power. We don't set ourselves up as gods. We often ask for the help of another recovering addict when sharing with a new person. It is a privilege to respond to a cry for help. We, who have been in the pits of despair, feel fortunate to help others find recovery. We help new people learn the principles of Narcotics Anonymous. We try to make them feel welcome and help them learn what the program has to offer. We share our experience, strength, and hope. Whenever possible, we accompany newcomers to a meeting. The selfless service of this work is the very principle of Step 12. We received our recovery from the God of our understanding. We now make ourselves available as his tool to share recovery with those who seek it. Most of us learn that we can only carry our message to someone who is asking for help. Sometimes the only message necessary to make the suffering addict reach out is the power of example. Pardon me. An addict may be suffering but unwilling to ask for help. We can make ourselves available to these people so when they ask, someone will be there. That reminds me, just being available, just reaching out, just giving your number out at meetings, just talking to people, say, hey, here's my number, give me a call. That, if you, those of you that are brand new, the people that have been in the rooms for a while, McKinsey can tell you, it is scary at first. It is scary to ask people for their number. It is scary to ask for help. So when we see a newcomer and we come up to them and we want to give them a hug and be like, hey, how's it going? And talk to you. When we give you our number, we want you to call. And there are some people in the rooms like, well, I don't give my number out. They got to come ask for my number. You know what? I think we forget. Some of us forget how hard that was and how hard that is. So, when you're at a meeting and they say, hey, if you're brand new or if it's your first NA meeting or if this is your first meeting here in this group, raise your hand. Pay attention to who's raising their hand. And then after the meeting, go slide them your number. Hey, listen, call me if you need something. Call me if you need to talk. Call me if you need a ride, if you're able to do that sort of thing. Not everybody can. If you can, do. I keep losing my place because I keep looking up to talk to you guys. Oh, here we go. The selfless service of this work is the very principle of Step 12. Oh, I read that already. Da-da-da-da. Learning to help others is a benefit of the Narcotics Anonymous program. Remarkably, working the 12 steps guide us from humiliation and despair to acting as instruments of our higher power. We are given the ability to help a fellow addict when no one else can. We see it happening among us every day. This miraculous turnabout is evidence of spiritual awakening. We share from our own personal experience what it has been like for us. The temptation to give advice is great, but when we do so, we lose the respect of newcomers. This clouds our message. A simple, honest message of recovery from addiction rings true. I've said it before. I don't carry the message of NA. I carry the message of recovery. Recovery is possible. Any addict can get recovery. I can't tell you what to do. I can tell you what I have done. You want what I got? You do what I did. You can get what I got. I don't know. That's a weird way to say it. I heard somebody else say that one time, and I thought it sounded great until I just said it out loud. Lord, y'all, sorry. I'm coughing. I'm going to take a little sip of my drink right here. Completely non-alcoholic. Don't catch me slipping. Alcohol is a drug. I've made that point several times in these videos, but the 12 steps and the spiritual principles are the same whether you're in AA or NA. So if you are not in Narcotics Anonymous, if you're in AA, this video is for you too. I am going to do I am working on a separate series for AA specifically. Oh, hey, Jamie's here. Thank you, Mackenzie. Yes, I hope all of this is a good reminder for you. And Jamie's in here. Hi, Jamie. He's been supporting this channel, supporting me from the very beginning. So I'm glad you made it in, Jamie. We are on page 51 of the Narcotics Anonymous basic text. We're talking about step 12, and I was just saying how the steps and the principles are the same whether you work AA or you work NA. So if you're helping somebody, I've got AA videos, but only up until step 4. So if you're working with somebody and you would like them to see one of my videos, it's okay to tell them, hey, listen, you're on step 5, go watch the NA step 5 video, because the information, the basic principle, and the step is the same. So I hope that helps somebody out there. We attend meetings and make ourselves visible and available to serve the fellowship. We give freely and gratefully of our time, service, and what we have found here. The service we speak of in Narcotics Anonymous is the primary purpose of our groups. Service work is carrying the message to the addict who still suffers. The more eagerly we wade in and work, the richer our spiritual awakening will be. The first way that we carry the message speaks for itself. People see us on the street and remember us as a devious, frightened loners. They notice the fear leaving our faces. They see us gratefully come alive. Once we find the NA way, boredom and complacency have no place in our life. By staying clean, we begin to practice spiritual principles such as hope, surrender, acceptance, honesty, open-mindedness, willingness, faith, tolerance, patience, humility, unconditional love, sharing, and caring. As our recovery progresses, spiritual principles touch every area of our lives because we simply try to live this program in the here and now. We find joy as we start to learn how to live by the principles of recovery. It is the joy of watching as a person 2 days clean says to a person with 1 day clean, an addict alone is in bad company. It is the joy of watching a person who was struggling to make it suddenly, in the middle of helping another addict to stay clean, become able to find the words needed to carry the message of recovery. We feel that our lives have become worthwhile. Spiritually refreshed, we are glad to be alive. When we were using, our lives become an exercise in survival. Realizing that the bottom line is staying clean, we can enjoy life. We like being clean and enjoy carrying the message of recovery to the addict who still suffers. Going to meetings really works. Practicing spiritual principles in our daily lives leads us to a new image of ourselves. Honesty, humility, and open mindedness help us to treat our associates fairly. Our decisions become tempered with tolerance. We learn to respect ourselves. The lessons we learn in our recovery are sometimes bitter and painful. By helping others, we find the reward of self respect as we are able to share these lessons with other members of Narcotics Anonymous. We cannot deny other addicts their pain, but we can carry the message of hope that was given to us by fellow addicts in recovery. We share the principles of recovery as they have worked in our lives. God helps us as we help each other. Life takes on a new meaning, a new joy, and a quality of being and feeling worthwhile. We become spiritually refreshed. Excuse me. This doesn't minimize. I don't know what you mean, Jamie. The lessons we learn in our recovery are sometimes bitter and painful. By helping others, we find the reward of self respect as we are able to share these lessons with other members of Narcotics Anonymous. We cannot deny other addicts their pain, but we can carry the message of hope that was given to us by fellow addicts in recovery. We share the principles of recovery as they have worked in our lives. God helps us as we help each other. Life takes on a new meaning, a new joy, and a quality of being and feeling worthwhile. We become spiritually refreshed and are glad to be alive. One aspect of our spiritual awakening comes through the new understanding of our higher power that we develop by sharing another addict's recovery. Yes, we are a vision of hope. We are examples of the program working. The joy that we have in living clean is an attraction to the addict who still suffers. We do recover to live clean and happy lives. Welcome to NA. The steps do not end here. The steps are a new beginning. That is a lot. That is a lot to unpack, y'all, but we're going to do it. This thing keeps going through my head, and I'm going to share it with you guys. Um, Years ago, my husband and he needed some pants for work. We went to a store to get him some pants. And while he was trying them on, the shop girl and I started talking. And I don't remember specifically how we got started on the topic, but the topic came up that I was in recovery and that I worked in treatment and da da da. So she starts telling me about her brother in law who has a substance problem, and she's concerned for him. She's concerned for her sister who's married to him and their kids. And so we talked a bit, and I gave her my number. I said, listen, if and when he ever wants help, needs help, is ready for help, give me a call. I'll try and help you out. Like 2 years went by, and she calls me, and she's like, do you remember that? I remember. How's it going? She wanted to know my opinion about different treatment centers in the area, and where her brother-in-law could go. He was ready. It took 2 years. But see, I planted that seed. I had that conversation with a random person in a store, and 2 years later, I was able to help her. Right? Like point her in the right direction. So that's carrying the message. It tells us in the literature, it is attraction rather than promotion, right? The best way that I carry the message is by living happy, joyous, and free. I get the greatest compliment that I get anymore, and I get it all the time in real life, is that I'm always in a good mood, that I'm always smiling, I'm always seem happy. I don't freak out about things. That's a great compliment to me, because that was not always the case. If you ask some people like Jamie and Mackenzie, they'll tell you I'm awesome, right? 8 years ago, the people that knew me would tell you I was a raging harpy bitch. And you know what? They're both right. Both right. I have a newfound freedom found because I work the 12 steps, because I have a great relationship with my higher power, because I carry the message of recovery. I live in step 10, 11, and 12, living it. Every single day, I carry the message of recovery to whoever I can as much as I can. This is why I started Starve the Demon channel. That's why, because I want to help the newcomer. I work in treatment. I'm a certified recovery coach. I sponsor. I go to meetings. I, ask the people that know me in real life. I can take any conversation and bring it back to recovery, and I'm probably very annoying about that. But that's what it is. That's who I am. So I'm not saying that's who you got to be, but that's who I am. So we're done with the basic text. So I have another little thing to read here. Guys, bear with me. I don't have any producers or studio or anybody helping me except my chat GPT. I named him Eli. But he helps me figure this stuff out. And look, here they go again. Here they go again. Guys, you gotta shush, okay? Can you be cute and quiet at the same time? Okay, that brings us to the end of what we're reading from the Narcotics Anonymous basic text. Before we move over to It Works How and Why, I wanted to just take a minute to check in with everybody. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this live. If you're watching on Facebook, please follow the Starve the Demon page, react to the video, and share it with somebody who may need it. Those little things tell YouTube and Facebook that recovery content matters, and they help this reach an addict or the family of an addict who may be looking for some hope tonight. You can also visit starvethedemon.com for more recovery content, merchandise, and let me know in the chat, what has service looked like in your recovery? Doesn't have to be something big or official. Sometimes service is making coffee, answering the phone, giving somebody a ride, staying after a meeting to talk, or simply showing up when you said you would. Now we're going to move into It Works How and Why and dig a little deeper into spiritual awakening, carrying the message, and practicing these principles in all our affairs. That felt like a commercial. Okay, so Jamie, I don't know what you mean by this doesn't minimize. Are you talking about your TV? I'm going to hit my vape because I'm a grown up. You said it's good. Okay, I didn't know what you meant by that, sweetie. Okay, so, and It Works How and Why. I can't believe we're at step 12, y'all. Now, there's more to the book beyond that. There's a couple chapters beyond that, and then there's stories in the back. I think, though, that next week I'm going to go back to finish the AA steps, and then I'll work on the other chapters within the books. That's what I had started doing. I did like the first chapter of AA and then the first chapter of NA, kind of back and forth. I wanted to make sure I got all the steps done, though, in one of them. And there's a bunch of stuff out there for AA. So I thought, you know what? Maybe I'll do something special for NA. All right, so we are on page 113 of It Works How and Why. Do you hear them? They're whining like they're killing each other. Jamie says being a sponsor is a good way to run a recovery ministry when someone's higher power isn't working for them. You know, that's very true. Listen, when somebody has yet to really have that spiritual experience, they don't feel connected to a higher power, or maybe they don't have a higher power. Like they don't know what their higher power is. You know, we talk about God, group of druggies, good orderly direction. You know, sometimes the group itself can be a higher power if you look at it as a power greater than yourself, right? Which isn't to say that anybody's any better than anybody else and that a sponsor is greater than you. What I mean is the person that's got more experience, that is living happy, joyous, and free, you know, they will be able to tell you how they got that way. The group itself, if you have a problem, I have done this. I have had struggles where I went to my AA group or my NA group, and yes, Christ works for me, but that's not everybody's higher power. So I'm not telling you what to do. I can only tell you what I have done. But anyway, I have had times where I went to my home group and just sat and talked to people before the meeting and said, listen, I got this going on and I don't know what to do, and got advice from people that had more recovery than I did and were able to give me their experience, which gave me strength and hope. Hey, so that group of people in that room is a power greater than you as an individual, than me as an individual. You know, more heads, more people thinking together. Take the suggestions, take it or leave it. Let them tell you, oh, hey, I've had a similar something happen in my life, and this is the way that I dealt with it. Sometimes you can learn a lot from people that messed up. Like, oh, you know what? I had that going on. I did the complete wrong thing, and the results were awful. And you know, don't do that thing. But if your current higher power isn't working, it's time for you know who. Well, you have to ask yourself why it isn't working. You know, and there are people out there that will say, you know, I don't believe in a higher power. I don't want to take direction. Okay, well, you know, whatever you've been doing prior to this has been working so great so far. You can keep doing that. You know, maybe somebody else does know something you don't. Hi, baby my husband Cliff just popped up in the chat. He's my favorite person. Mackenzie's in here. Chris is in here, but he's babysitting the grandbabies, so he's in and out. Jamie's in here. All right, so we're going to jump into It Works How and Why on page 113. And of course, it always starts. Step 12, having had a spiritual awakening. As a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to addicts and to practice these principles in all our affairs. In a sense, step 12 encompasses all the steps. We must make use of what we've learned in the previous 11 as we carry the message and practice the principle of recovery in all our affairs. Individually and collectively, each step has contributed to the extraordinary transformation which we know as spiritual awakening. Oh, thanks, baby. You could see, he says he could see me on YouTube and Facebook. I'm using Riverside to record, and I use Riverside to record and edit and to do the streaming. So I'm not really on YouTube or Facebook, and yet I'm on both. It's fabulous. My husband's at work. Jamie, he says hi. I know you guys can see the chat. I don't know why I jump in there and do that. Many of us have wondered how this spiritual awakening comes about. Hey, you guys want to be quiet for a second? Thanks. Does it happen? Many of us have wondered how this spiritual awakening comes about. Does it happen all at once, or does it occur slowly over a long period of time? While there may be great variations within our experience about this awakening of the spirit, we all agree that it results from working the steps. Our awakening has been progressive, beginning with a spark of awareness in the first step. Before we admitted the truth about our addiction, we knew only the darkness of denial. But when we surrendered, acknowledging that we couldn't arrest our addiction or hope for a better life on our own, a ray of light broke through the darkness, beginning our spiritual awakening. Though each individual's experience of a spiritual awakening varies, some experiences are so common as to be almost universal. Humility is one of those common factors. Humility is one of those common factors. It's weird when a sentence splits in the middle. Hey, guys! Hey, stop chewing on each other. They're super cute, though. Look. I see you, baby. Thank you. We first began to experience humility. This is Happy. He likes to give kisses. We first began to experience humility when we opened our minds to the possibility that a power greater than ourselves existed. For some of us, this experience was so astounding that we received an almost physical jolt from the knowledge that we weren't alone in our struggle for recovery. Step 2 allowed us our first glimpse of hope. That hope had an immediate and powerful effect on our despairing spirit, providing us with a reason to go on. Our desire for something different prompted us to a deeper level of surrender in the third step. Not only did we admit that we couldn't control our addiction, we went on to recognize that our will and lives could be better left to the care of our higher power. Paradoxically, in this admission, we found our greatest strength. As we worked the third step, we began to understand that we could tap the limitless resource of our higher power for everything needed to heal us spiritually. This included the courage we knew we would need to work the fourth step. Many of us dreaded the process of self-appraisal called for in Step 4, despite the gentle assurances of our fellow NA members that we would find spiritual rewards in the process. Guys, can y'all hear them? Is it just me? Cliff told me last time he couldn't even hear them. They're driving me nuts. They'll be quiet the whole day. As soon as I sit down here to do this, they want to start making noise. They could go outside and play. Many of us dreaded the process of self-appraisal called for in Step 4, despite the gentle assurance of our fellow NA members that we would find spiritual rewards in the process. Though we were afraid, we went forward, somehow believing in the experience of other recovering addicts. Once our inventory was completed, we no longer needed convincing. In the process, we had experienced spiritual growth for ourselves. Our spirits were strengthened by our emerging integrity. The shaping of values, so essential to our character, was just one of the positive results we found in the fourth step. Unlike the admission we made in the first step, which was made in desperation, the admission we made in Step 5 was voluntary. This complete disclosure of our innermost selves, made without reservation, resulted in a breakthrough in our ability to accept ourselves and trust others. Our sponsor's acceptance and our higher power's unconditional love made it possible for us to judge ourselves less harshly. We developed a little more humility with the awareness of the exact nature of our wrongs. We began to understand that humility and self-loathing are incompatible and can't exist at the same time. I want to touch on that a little bit. So, humility is being right-sized. Not, I'm so great. Not, I suck. My doggies are rock stars. Thank you, Jamie. Here's the thing. When we think about somebody being egotistical, right? Me, my, I. What comes to mind generally is somebody that's very arrogant, thinks very highly of themselves. I am so great. Look what I could do. Look at me, look at me. Right? That is no different than the person that says, I suck. I'm the worst. I have this thing wrong with me, that thing wrong with me, the other thing wrong with me. I'm just no good. There's no hope for me. That is still me, my, I. Okay, so it's still all ego. It's still all about me, whether it's I'm the greatest or I suck beyond measure. So that's why it says humility, being right-sized, knowing who you are, and self-loathing don't coexist. Because if all you can think about is how much you suck, all you can think about is you. And if all you're thinking about is you, that is very selfish and egotistical, which is pretty much the opposite of humility. So I don't know if that doesn't make sense. It makes sense to me. I hope I can explain. I've explained it in a way that it makes sense to you. With our awareness of the exact nature of our wrongs, our character defects, and the humility inherent in that awareness, our desire to change increased dramatically as we work Step 6. Though we may have experienced some apprehension about surrendering our character defects, we overcame our fears by drawing on the trust and faith we had developed in a loving God. Trust and faith, two important elements of a spiritual awakening, made it possible for us to become entirely ready to allow a power greater than ourselves to work in our lives. Consciously asking the God of our understanding to help us in Step 7 was an important development in the awakening of our spirit. That request was tangible evidence of how much we had changed spiritually. This was the point where many of us began to sense the enormous difference that our higher power could make in our lives. Because we had asked for and been granted some freedom from having to act on our shortcomings, we finally began to grasp what the miracle of recovery offers us. Yes, Jamie, that is a narcissism. It's because it's me, me, me. If all your focus is on you, whether it, we think about people brag about themselves. I find that people that are down on themselves and constantly tell you what's wrong with them, um, it's the same thing. It's just the other side of that coin. Oh, I lost my place, Jamie. um, in our attempt to not be lukewarm, we end up being one extreme or the other and worse. True. That's true because we want to feel special, right? And too many of us suffer from what I like to call look at me syndrome. Look at me, look at me, look at me. Which is weird because we also want to isolate and don't look at me. Don't it's We want you to look at us but not see us, if that makes sense. When we're in our active addiction. When we're in active addiction, it's look at me, but don't see me. Don't really see me. I don't know if that makes sense. It makes sense to me. I think I'm brilliant. And then we try to go for balance and end up being lukewarm. Yes. Yes. And that's what humility is about, being right sized. To know you have strengths, you have weaknesses, you're a human being, you're not the greatest thing walking, you're not the worst thing on the planet. You won't find it without holy hand, thorny head man upstairs. He doesn't have thorns on his head anymore. Someday we will meet in heaven, casting our crowns at Jesus' feet. That's what I think. But we don't tell people what they have to believe. This is not a religious thing, it's a spiritual thing. And I know what I believe. I'm not going to tell you what you should believe. I keep losing my place. Thanks, you guys, for sticking with me. This was the point where many of us began to sense the enormous difference that our higher power could make in our lives. Because we had been asked for and been granted some freedom from having to act on our shortcomings, we finally began to grasp what the miracle of recovery offers us. Carried along by the promise of continued freedom in our lives, we proceeded, in step 8, to make ourselves aware of what we had done to others in our active addiction. Again, we saw how the spiritual preparation of the previous steps made it possible for us to withstand the pain and remorse of listing the people we had harmed. Our willingness to make amends to them all brought us further away from the grip of self obsession. Our search for recovery was no longer focused on what we could get out of it for ourselves. We saw beyond the confines of our own lives, and our efforts in recovery began to be more generous. We developed the ability to feel empathy for others. Once we had engaged in the process of making amends in the ninth step, we could see how it contributed to our spiritual growth. Our humility was enhanced by our newfound appreciation for others' feelings. Our self esteem grew along with our increased capacity to forgive both ourselves and others. We were able to give of ourselves. Most of all, we gained freedom to live in the present and feel that we belonged in the world. The discipline we practiced in the 10th step ensured that we continued to breathe new life into our awakening spirits. We practiced ongoing adherence to our newfound values, thereby strengthening their importance in our lives. We saw that by making our spiritual development our primary focus, other aspects of our lives would progress naturally as they were meant to all along. Focusing our attention on our spiritual development brought us to the 11th step. I said that weird. Focusing our attention on our spiritual development brought us to the 11th step. We had already become increasingly conscious of a powerful presence operating in our lives, a power that could restore our sanity and remove our shortcomings. Through recognizing the love demonstrated by such actions, we started to better understand the loving nature of our higher power. The spiritual void we felt at the beginning of our recovery has been filled with gratitude, unconditional love, and a desire to be of service to God and others. Undeniably, we have experienced a spiritual awakening. Jamie says, in an attempt to give my experience, I end up dictating spirituality. What a slippery slope. Well, that's true. And my only suggestion for that is how you say what you say. Say what you mean what you say, right? I This comes up too a lot, because they say, you can't tell somebody else what to believe. You can't, tell somebody you have to be Christian, you have to be Jewish, you have to whatever. You can't do that, right? When I am speaking about my higher power, if I'm in the rooms, whatever, I said, listen, my higher power is Jesus. I don't have to, I don't have to explain why that is. I don't have to tell somebody else that that has to be their higher power. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you what I have done. I'm telling you what works for me. And it is 1,000% okay to do that, Jamie. That is your experience. But I think it's important that when you are talking about that in the recovery spaces, it is important that you clarify that you're not trying to push that. You're saying, this is what works for me. If you want to know what works for me, this is what works for me. If you want to know more about that, we can sit down and talk about that. I can pull out my Celebrate Recovery Bible right now, you know, but I'm not going to impose that on somebody. I'm not going to make somebody do that with me. But if that's what they, if they ask me, I let them know this is what I'm about. And if you want to know more about that, you can ask me. That's the best advice I could give you as far as that goes. That's what I have found works best for me. Oh, my light's dying. That's all right, because you know what I did? I got my husband's flashlight. Woo, that's super bright. Babe, is there a way to turn that down? I'm going to hold it like this. Wow, that's really bright. My husband's a security guard, y'all. His flashlight is something. There we go. Or not. God, I need to get a better, brighter light in here. Where was I at? 11th step. Focusing our attention on our spiritual development brought us to the 11th step. We had already become increasingly conscious of a powerful presence operating in our lives, a power that could restore our sanity and remove our shortcomings. Oh, I just read that. In order to cultivate this awakening, we have found it essential to express our gratitude and practice the principles of recovery in every area of our lives. However, this isn't something we do only to ensure that our own recovery continues. Narcotics Anonymous is not a selfish program. In fact, the spirit of the 12th step is grounded in the principle of selfless service. Upholding this principle in our efforts to carry the message is of the utmost importance, both to our spiritual state and to those to whom we are trying to carry the message. I just years I'm take Jamie says, see, I'm doing it right now. I'm learning the very thing I'm talking. But that's okay. Because that's how, we talk about things. We talk about it. I tell you what I think, you tell me what you think, somebody else tell us what they think. It's a great conversation to have, and it comes up a lot. And you are going to start sponsoring soon, and it's going to come up. You're going to have sponsees that don't have the same higher power you do, or haven't figured out yet what their higher power is. And this is a program of attraction rather than promotion, right? Show them. Show them what works for you and the way that it works for you and how it works for you. And that's all you could do. You know, the point of a sponsor is to take somebody through the book, through the steps, and put their hand in the hand of God's. That's it. That's your whole goal. That's your whole, whatever. And hopefully they will, by working the steps, come to their spiritual awakening and connect with higher power. Admitting it is the first step. No, I think it's great. I think it's great, Jimmy, that you look at it and you say, hey, you know what? Oh, look what I'm doing. It's with everything. I keep losing my place because I keep looking up into the chat. One of these days, I'm going to have a studio. I'm going to look a lot more professional. Step 12 has a paradoxical aspect in that the more we help others, the more we help ourselves. For instance, if we find ourselves troubled and our faith wavering, there are very few actions that can have an immediate uplifting effect on us as helping a newcomer. One small act of generosity can work wonders. Our self absorption diminishes, and we end up with a better perspective on what previously seemed like overwhelming problems. Every time we tell someone else that Narcotics Anonymous works, we reinforce our belief in the program. When being of service in Narcotics Anonymous, many of us have been chosen to give back the program in the same way we were helped when new. Some of us whose first contact with NA was through the area phone line have found it rewarding to serve on the phone line ourselves. Others have been drawn to hospitals and institution service work because we first heard the message of NA in a jail or hospital. Whatever form of service we choose to be involved in, we do so with our primary purpose of carrying the message in mind. Now we must ask ourselves, just what is the message we are trying to carry? Is it that we never have to use drugs again? Is it that through recovery we cease being likely candidates for jails, institutions, and an early death? Is it the hope that an addict, any addict, can recover from the disease of addiction? Well, it's all of this and more. The message we carry is that by practicing the principles contained within the 12 steps, we have had a spiritual awakening. Whatever that means for each one of us is the message we carry to those seeking recovery. Because again, I cannot tell you what to do. I can only tell you what I have done, what has worked for me. I've made a lot of mistakes. My recovery hasn't been perfect, but it's been great. And the results of it are great. And if you want to know, I'll tell you all about it. The ways in which we carry the message are as varied as our members. There are, however, some basic guidelines that we as a fellowship have found to be helpful. First and foremost, we share our experience, strength, and hope. This means that we share our experience, not the theories we have heard from other sources. This also means that we share our own experience, not someone else's. It is not our job to tell someone seeking recovery where to work, who to live with, how to raise their children, or anything else outside the realm of our experience with recovery. Someone we are trying to help may have problems in these areas. We can help best by not managing that person's life, but by sharing our own experience in those areas. Developing a personal style for carrying the message rests on a simple requirement. We must be ourselves. We each have a special one of a kind personality that is sure to be an attraction to many. Some of us have a sparkling sense of humor, which may reach someone in despair. Some of us are especially warm and compassionate, able to reach an addict who has rarely been the recipient of kindness. Some of us have a remarkable talent for telling the truth in no uncertain terms to an addict literally dying to hear it. Some of us are a valuable asset on any service committee, while others do better working one-on-one with a newcomer, with a suffering addict. Whatever our own personality makeup, we can be assured that when we sincerely try to carry the message, we can reach the addict seeking recovery. Yet there are limits to what we can do to help another addict. We cannot force anyone to stop using. We cannot give someone the results of working the steps, nor can we grow for them. We cannot magically remove someone's loneliness or pain. Not only are we powerless over our own addiction, we are powerless over everyone else's. We can only carry the message. We cannot determine who will receive it. We plant the seeds. We don't get to know where they grow. We are here to do God's work, not his job. We do the next right thing. We leave the results up to God. And that's all we can do. We learned in steps 1 and 3 that we don't have power over anything or anybody. I don't have that kind of control. I don't have that kind of power. I can't make you nothing, right? I can't make you happy. I can't make you mad. I can't make you act any kind of way. I can't make you use. I can't make you be clean. And I promise you, I'm going to stay sober no matter what you do. It is absolutely none of our business to decide who is ready to hear the message of recovery and who is not. Oh, doesn't that drive you nuts? Doesn't that drive you nuts when somebody is struggling, a newcomer is struggling, or somebody relapses, and the answer is, well, they're just not ready. They're just not ready. You don't know when somebody's ready and somebody's not ready. And you could be ready and still be struggling. You could be ready and willing and wanting to and still struggling. And we don't give up on folks because they're struggling. And we don't go, well, they're not ready. They're not ready. Certain phrases, I love a good cliche, but there are certain phrases that when I tell you, they get my Irish up. And one of them is not ready. You're not ready. You don't know. You don't know. And then you'll have somebody else that seems like they're checking all the boxes and then goes out and just, burns their whole life all to the ground. You can't tell and you don't know. So you carry the message. You plant the seed. It's going to grow where it grows. You carry the message of recovery and you practice these principles in all your affairs. You don't have any control over if somebody else practices them or not. It's not your problem. It falls in that great big category called not my problem. Most things are in that category. Many of us have formed such a judgment about an addict's desire for recovery and have been mistaken. Multiple relapses do not necessarily signify a lack of interest in recovery, nor does the model newcomer demonstrate without a doubt a certainty of making it. It is our purpose and our privilege to share the message of recovery unconditionally with anyone expressing a desire to receive it. The principle of unconditional love is expressed in our attitude. Anyone who reaches out for help is entitled to our compassion, our attention, and our unconditional acceptance. Any addict, regardless of clean time, should be able to pour out his or her pain in an atmosphere free of judgment. Most of us have found that we are able to feel great empathy for those who suffer from our disease precisely because it is our disease. Cliff says, not too many people hearing the message on here. You know what? This is 12 step, baby. It's like being an Eagle Scout. You know, just because you was a Cub Scout doesn't mean you're going to make it to being an Eagle Scout. You know, but that's okay. That's okay because this will replay and people will share it. And that message is out there. That message exists in this book. I just happen to be reading it out loud on YouTube right now. Our empathy isn't abstract, nor is our understanding. Instead, it is born in shared experience. We greet each other with the recognition reserved for survivors of the same nearly fatal catastrophe. This shared experience, more than anything else, contributes to the atmosphere of unconditional love in our meetings. And listen, remember this too. I've been hearing it said a lot lately. Well, if the 12 steps work, if NA works, why are you still going to meetings 20 years later? I will tell you why. Because that person that's got all that time and has worked their steps and is living happy, joyous, and free, they're not going to that meeting for themselves. They're going to that meeting to help the newcomer. They're going to that meeting to offer their experience, strength, and hope and to carry the message of recovery. Them going to that meeting is part of their 12-step work. It's part of the 12th step, carrying the message and being of service. So just keep that in mind. Oh, I get it, guys. Y'all see my Irish get up right there? Did y'all see it? Oh, that's funny. Helping others is perhaps the highest aspiration of the human heart and something we have been entrusted with as a result of a higher power working in our lives. We would do well to remember to ask the God of our understanding to continue working through us in our efforts to carry the message. Diligently practicing the principles of recovery will ensure that the connection between ourselves and our higher power remains open and that our service to others is firmly rooted in spirituality. Oh, on Facebook. Tanya said hi on Facebook. Oh, tell her I said hi. I don't know how to do that. I don't know anything about the Facebook Lives. So I wasn't sure if I was able to chat with them. I'm just sitting here on Riverside. I see public chat, but I can't tell if it's YouTube or it says YouTube at the bottom. So I imagine if it was Facebook, it would say Facebook. Anyway, tell her I said hi. Spirituality becomes a way of life for us as we live by the principles of recovery. The example of a life lived according to these principles is potentially the most powerful message we can carry. We don't need to wait until we're on the second step to practice the principle of open-mindedness. Courage and honesty have a place in our lives even when we aren't writing an inventory. Humility is always a desirable state, whether we are asking the God of our understanding to remove our shortcomings, conducting business with a coworker, or talking to a friend. To practice the principles of recovery in all our affairs is what we strive for, both in and out of meetings. No matter who is involved, no matter how difficult it may seem, we make the principles of recovery the guides by which we live. Only through the practice of these principles in our daily life can we hope to achieve the spiritual growth necessary to maintain our reprieve from the disease of addiction. Though this may seem a lofty goal, we have found it attainable. Our gratitude for the gift of recovery becomes the underlying force in all we do, motivating us and weaving its way through our lives and the lives of those around us. Even in silence, the voice of our gratitude does not go unheard. It speaks most clearly as we walk the path of recovery, selflessly giving to those we meet along the way. We venture forth of we venture forth on our spiritual journey, our lives enriched, our spirits awakened, and our horizons ever expanded. The quintessential spirit that lies inside each one of us, the spark of life that was almost extinguished by our disease, has been renewed through working the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous. It is on the path paved with these steps that our future journey begins. Now, the next part of this book is the traditions, which I don't think I'm going to go through the traditions until I've finished the rest of the AA steps and then the rest of the books themselves, and then we'll get into the traditions. Cliff says, I think it's obvious why people continue going to meetings. It's an endless support group where everyone can help each other. Some people come and go, and that's okay. It's true. And sometimes you think somebody has fell out, they just went to a different meeting. My husband and I, we go to meetings all over the place, and he's not even 12 stepper. But, if we're out and about and we have some time, sometimes you just get in the mood and go, hey, let's find a meeting. Whether you're an addict, an alcoholic, or any problem in your life, being around others for support is always a good thing. Truth. That's why people go to therapy. That's why people go to church. So you could be around like-minded people. You have a common problem, you find a common solution, and you help each other out. Let's see. So, does anybody have any questions? Anything I can answer for you? Any of your own experience, strength, and hope that you would like to share? I don't know how to see what Facebook looks like. Oh, it doesn't say. Apparently, nobody's on Facebook. All right. That's cool. It'll replay. I'm going to edit it anyway. I'm going to make my book study video out of it and make some shorts out of it, and those will be cute. I don't know how to keep the dogs from making noise. I really don't. I used to do this in my mother-in-law's room. It has a door I could shut, but this is more comfortable. And I like having the dogs around. I just don't like them to make so much noise. So, what can I tell you about 12 step? The 12th step. I always say that my whole life is 12 step work, right? Because I do this. I have my Starve the Demon channel, which is specifically for newcomers, so that I can show different paths of recovery, so that I can break down the 12 steps, hopefully break down any myths or misconceptions that somebody has about the 12 steps. Oh, it's okay, Shroom. You do what you got to do, baby. You're running after babies. I'm running after puppies. You're running after actual babies. There's a lot going on in the recovery community. A lot of anti-12 steppers. Whatever. People are going to say what they're going to say. People are going to find reasons to find differences instead of similarities. They're going to find reasons why something's not going to work for them. Don't let that stop you. Don't let that stop you from living your best life and from carrying the message of recovery. And what is that message? That message is that we do recover, that recovery is possible. Any addict can recover. You do not have to spend your life being a slave to the addiction demon. You don't. That's the message. That is the message. I did it, you could do it. That's the message. And nobody understands like another addict understands. All the book learning in the world. Here's the beauty of it. I have the book learning. You can't see it now, but I got a stack of books like this, right? I don't just have experiential knowledge. I have observational knowledge. I have book learning. I have certification, recovery coach certification. It's not just my own personal experience. However, everything is informed by my own personal experience. And I can point you towards any resource. But when it comes time to really talk about addiction and recovery, everything I'm going to tell you is coming from me and my heart and what I have gone through, what I have learned, and hopefully you get with somebody that you can learn from. Not somebody that's going to co-sign your bullshit, not somebody that's going to, enable you or tell you, well, that's okay. Sometimes it's not okay. Just because I might understand where you're coming from, that doesn't mean that I'm going to agree with what you're doing or tolerate poor behavior. Hey, come on. Mommy's talking. Anyway, see, I lose my train of thought with the doggies. I'm sorry, you guys. Someday I'll have a studio and I'll be better at this. I am. Ooh, scary stories light. Yeah, I could do that. Look. It was a dark and stormy night. No, I'm just kidding. My husband and I like to watch scary movies. We really, really like old scary movies. I really, really do. All right, I'm trying to see where I'm at here. Want to see if I've missed anything. Oh, yeah, that's what I was going to tell you too. So I get on TikTok. I go on TikTok lives and talk to other people in recovery. Oh, thanks. You know what's the best part of my studio is this banner back here. That is the coolest thing of all of it, right there. The whole studio, that's the centerpiece right there. So like today, right? I took my dogs. Face red, droopy eyes, hand pink waving, cat orange whistling face, blue wide eyes, socialist, body, blue raised arms. What the heck are you going through? I don't need anything but that blurry banner behind me. I need a producer and an editor. That's what I need. I don't know what Cliff's going through there. Anyway, like today, I took the dogs to the vet, right? And on the way home, I jumped into a TikTok live. I don't always have the opportunity to get to an in-person meeting. I work overnights. My husband works overnights. It's not always just conducive. And where we live kind of out in the boonies. We have to travel to actually get a meeting, right? So the time of day that in-person meetings are available, we're not necessarily able to get there. We like to go to St. Pete, we go to Bradenton, we go into Tampa, Brandon, wherever we are, we try to get a meeting. However, ever since COVID, what did we learn? Zoom meetings, online meetings. TikTok Shop has great meeting resources for Alcoholics Anonymous. I have discovered a great recovery community on TikTok. So I will get in there and just jump on somebody's recovery live. And to me, it's the exact same thing as a regular meeting. It's people in there. There's usually a topic and they go around the little room. There's usually, like 8 to 12 people. I mean, however many people are in the chat, the whole thing, but they'll have like 8 to 12 people in these boxes at a time. And they go through and they'll have a topic or a question and they go through the boxes and you get to say and you get to share. And it's a wonderful thing. To me, it's no different than a regular meeting, and you can find them for AA. You can find it for NA. You can find it for just recovery that's not affiliated with Narcotics Anonymous or Alcoholics Anonymous specifically. And just get in there and talk and talk to other people. And sometimes you get in there and there will be a newcomer. There will be somebody that's just trying to figure it out and they don't know what to do. So you've hopefully got some other people in there who's got a little bit of time and can help them and point them in the right direction. And I have found an amazing community on TikTok. So when I'm out and about and I'm driving in my car and I'm, sometimes when I'm on my way home from work, I jump on a TikTok live because it takes me at least half an hour, usually closer to 45 minutes to get home from my job. So that's a great chunk of time for me to get on TikTok and have my meeting. But also, like I said, I work in treatment. Any of y'all that's been following me, I work in a treatment center. So that gives me great opportunity. I'm always around newcomers. I'm always able to talk about recovery and different paths of recovery. It doesn't have to be Narcotics Anonymous. It could be Alcoholics Anonymous, Celebrate Recovery, Dharma Recovery, Smart Recovery, whatever it is. And have you ever seen the film White Zombie? It's good. I feel like I have. That sounds really familiar, but I could just be thinking of Rob Zombie and the band White Zombie. Let's see. Before we wrap up tonight, I want to leave you with this. Step 12 is not the finish line. We don't work 12 steps, graduate from recovery, and walk away with a certificate saying we're fixed. Step 12 takes everything we've learned and asks us to live it. We carry the message with our words, but we also carry it through our actions. We carry it when we tell the truth. We carry it when we take responsibility. We carry it when we make amends, ask for help, show patience, keep our commitments, and stay present for other people, especially other addicts. And service is not about becoming important. It's about becoming useful. Somebody carried the message to us when we were still sick, afraid, angry, ashamed, or completely convinced that nobody understood us. Now we have an opportunity to make sure that same message is available to the next addict. That doesn't mean we have to save everybody. We can't. That's an unrealistic expectation. Our job is to carry the message, not the addict. And spiritual awakening doesn't always arrive in one giant dramatic moment. Sometimes we recognize it later when we realize that we handled something differently. We didn't run, we didn't lie, we didn't use, we asked for help, we thought about somebody besides ourselves. That change is the evidence. So I wanted to bring one more thing up. So I will tell you how I first recognized that the program was working for me, that the 12 steps were working for me. Stop it. Nego, take that outside. Take it. Go. Anyway, I was on my way to work and I was not yet a year clean. And I was driving to work. I had this real crappy old Mazda. Cliff remembers. And I stopped at a turning light. And you guys have got to stop squeaking that ball. Please, I'm begging you. Anyway, I want to tell the story. So I'm on my way to work. I'm at a turning light. And the lady behind me bumper kisses me, right? Her car, she didn't slam into me, but she knocked into me, right? And I look up and I'm like, what the hell was that? So I get out of my car and I'm walking to the back of the car to look and see if there's damage or whatever. And this chick, phone in hand, jumps out of the car. She's like, oh, don't start complaining. I'm sorry. Did I hit your car? No. You hit my car. You hit my car. But instead of dragging her, I thought about it. I said, you know what? I'm on my way to work. I'm looking at this piece of crap Mazda I'm driving. You couldn't spot one dent from that other scratch. I couldn't tell you. And then when there's nice, like, rubbery bouncing, there was no new damage to my car. And I was on federal probation at the time. So all these thoughts are going through my head. It's not worth it to me to have to call the cops, have the cops come. I have to deal with the cops being on probation, and I'm probably going to be late to work. And for what? 0 damage to my car. So my problem in this moment is her attitude. So I say to her, listen, you hit me. Don't be coming out of your car with some attitude at me. But that was it. I didn't take it any further. I didn't drag her. I didn't end up going to jail, whatever. I get in the car and I said a prayer and I said, when I get to where I'm going, I'm going to call my sponsor. Hey, stop it. Dio won't come in here because there's wires on the ground. Do you know at the very next light, I'm sitting there and she's still behind me. She gets out of her car. She starts walking up to my window. I'm like, oh, what is this now? She apologized to me. She said, you know what? You're right. And I'm sorry. And, and whatever. I said, okay, I forgive you. Get out of the road before you get hit. And I went ahead to work. And then I called my sponsor. That's when I knew. I knew in that moment. I thought, oh my God, this is the program working. Because prior to that, I would have dragged a bitch. I would not have hesitated. How dare you? If she'd have hit me and then come out of her car with an attitude, we'd have been fighting. I'd have been winning. We'd have both went to jail, and I'd have continued to beat her ass on every set that I could find her. That is the horrible person that I used to be. I wouldn't have cared about losing my job. I wouldn't have cared about I wouldn't have cared about nothing, but it would have been super important to me to be right and to choose violence. But in this day, I didn't do that. I kept my spiritual principles in mind. I prayed. I paused during agitation. I chose to let her live. Like they always say, live and let live. I let her live, and I was just going to go about my day. And what happened? She came and apologized to me. She went through whatever she went through in her own head between those lights and came up and said, you know what, you're right, and I'm sorry. Great. She gave me the opportunity to practice forgiveness. Yay. That never would have happened before I started working steps. Cliff says, there are people in the city. Honestly, I do better when I'm far from. Oh, he's talking to Chris about living out in the boonies. Shroom says, no matter what program you work, it takes time to really see changes come natural. That is true. That is very true. So that's why I'm saying this was the first time that I really saw it in my life. And there have been a million instances since then, but that was the first that I actually had the thought run through my head. Oh my God, this is the program. This is the program working. That's why I'm able to do this. I'm going to not even be late to work this morning. So that's amazing. That is the evidence of the program working. The change is the evidence. Anymore, like I was saying in the beginning of this, I get complimented on just my basic attitude. that I'm like always in a good mood and I take things in stride and nothing really gets me ruffled. And even if I do get ruffled, it's only for a minute and then I keep it pushing, and that is evidence of how the program works in my life. Shroom says it's when you don't react all crazy like is when you really know the program is working for you. Oh, truth. Listen, Chris has known me for about 1,000,000 years. And he knows that the idea that I did not go to jail that day, that's just a miracle. That was a miracle. So, yeah, because it would not have been my first time in jail. I wasn't scared of jail, you know. Um, it does take constant work. Listen, good karma is like a nice ass. It takes constant maintenance. Constant maintenance. You have to always be, concerned about that ripple effect. What I'm going to do right now? What's that going to affect 5 minutes from now, 5 years from now? I don't know. That's getting a little deep. I don't honestly think like that. I'm lying to you right now. I don't think about what 5 years from now is going to be like. I do think about what 5 minutes from now is going to be like. I think about how what I do is going to affect my husband, how it's going to affect the people that I work with, how it's going to affect anybody in my life that relies on me, that counts on me, because I take great pride in being reliable now and being somebody that you can count on and saying what I mean and meaning what I say. So I guess that's it. We've been doing this for an hour and a half, and I really appreciate you guys coming in. I know y'all have lives to lead, and this isn't it. Thank you to everybody who joined me live tonight, commented, shared your experience, or those of you that are going to watch the replay. Please like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow the Facebook page, and share this with somebody in recovery or somebody who loves an addict. You can find more recovery content, Starve the Demon merchandise at starvethedemon.com. Remember, the addiction demon feeds on fear, anger, resentment, shame, and isolation. We starve it with honesty, connection, spiritual principles, service, and recovery by any means necessary. Love everybody. Let God sort them out. I'm Jenna. This is Starve the Demon, and I'll see you next time. Keep coming back. We're going to keep coming back. Mwah! I love you lots too, Chris. He said, I got to read this to you. You're still here. He said, yes, I have seen Jenna lose her shit in the past. I could definitely see major changes. I'm proud of you, and I love you lots. And Cliff, you be safe out there. I love you too, Chris. Thank you. All right, guys. I'm shutting her down. Bye.